Hello, welcome. Going to play Let's Play Curling on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, this doesn't exactly fit my channel. I don't play many modern games. I do play too many sports games though. But I've gotten into curling the last couple years. I've never played, but I started watching it. So it's a sort of a Let's Play video. I didn't put Let's Play in the title since the game already says that in the title. But also sort of a review. My objective is more to convince at least one person to check out curling rather than this game, you know. And you could play this game, it's not bad, but I decided to make the video just to kind of spread curling. It doesn't get a whole lot of attention in the US. So I'm going to talk a lot about the game for those that are not familiar with curling, but at the same time I'm not sure anyone who's not interested in curling would even watch this. So who knows, we'll see. I'll just ramble on like I always do, try to throw some opinion in there. So I'm gonna play all the modes. Let me just start down here. It does come with a glossary. It's this intent, or the intent of the developer I think was to kind of introduce people to curling. I just don't know if people would play this game if they don't already know curling. But it gives you all the rules, the terms, just a bunch of stuff to read through. Now I'm not going to go through it all here, but I'll talk about it as I play. Something that is probably worth mentioning here though is the players do communicate a lot, so in the game you'll hear the computer saying yes or whoa. Just, you know, they yell to the sweepers, the skip primarily, but the person at throw might also shout some things. There's a lot of communication between the four players. There's 4 players per team and an alternate player, but this game, you know, nobody's gonna get hurt or have to leave the game for any reason, so there's no alternates in this game. Now this was published by Imagineer and developed by Cattle Call, both Tokyo-based companies, which I assume is why it included the spread of curling in Japan, which is a nice little read. It's very short. Japan does have a lot of good curling teams. I think the developer is most likely influenced by the women's team that's won a couple Olympic medals, one of the more popular teams overall as well. Cattle Call, you've probably not even ever heard of. It's not a well-known developer, but it was established in 1998, so it's been around, but it mostly ports games. And porting companies don't always get much attention, but occasionally it makes an original game like this. Imagineer's been around a while, since 1986. Although if you don't play Nintendo games, you might not know much about Imagineer either. Other than Sega Saturn, it's only published games on Nintendo platforms. Yeah, there's the tutorial. I'm gonna skip, but if you were new to curling or first time playing this game, you'd probably want to play the tutorial. It's very short. My team, I wish there was more to this. This is one of the negatives I'd say about the game is you can't do a whole lot. You can choose your country, your shirt, if you want men's or women's players, and the color of the stone you use. That's it. And the thing about these players is it's kind of unusual is that you can't select anything. Like there's 40 countries here, but they don't actually look like, you know, they're from those countries. It's just an assortment of people that could be, you know, from, well, primarily from the US but it's like, I don't know, like if you go to Japan, they don't look like Japanese people, really. And you can't edit them. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess, what they look like, but it would be, I guess, it'd give you more of a connection to your team. Like, you might care about them if you could actually create each athlete and maybe name them, but you can't. And you get this, there's different 4, you know, when you select them, but each country has those 4 every time. It's not randomizing it. you're going to get, I'll go right back to Brazil, you're going to get the same 4 each time you choose Brazil. It's not just randomizing them. There's a set 4 assigned to each country. Then the jerseys, or the shirts, like these people, they all wear short sleeves. Some players do when they're playing, but long sleeves or a jacket is mostly what players wear. These people are all brave enough to wear short sleeves when they play. It's probably just easier to program that, I guess. But so when they play, some players, they'll take off their jacket because it gets warm when they're moving around a lot, or they might even put on a winter jacket over their uniform jacket. So I don't know, plenty of players do wear short sleeves, but not always. But that's all you're going to see in this game. The pants are associated with the shirt, so like if I chose this one, I would get strictly black pants, or some have a stripe on the side. When you start the game, you're only going to have 3 shirt choices. Maybe they all have a stripe on the side. Oh no, that one doesn't. Yeah, I think the starting ones are all black pants. But I unlocked a bunch, so that's why there's a lot here. I think this one's the only one with the multi-colored stripes. But there's also different colored. Just depends which shirt color you choose. This one just looked American, so I was using it. But the men and women are identical. There's nothing different. There's nothing different between the characters, the athletes. They're all identical. So I don't know if it would make things too difficult to actually have applied ratings to the players, or like giving them, I don't know, if you had to play like a full season or an experience or something. Maybe that'd be too in-depth for the game, because it is more of a casual game. But it would be nice if there was more to this customization. So you can also choose the stone color. It starts you with red and yellow, which are the 2 most common you'll see when you watch curling. But I unlocked all these other ones, including these penguins, which are from the mini games. I'll just stick with what I had. But if you edit your team while in World Championship mode, it resets the mode. It'll warn you if you go, like if you play a season, go to my team, you want to choose the shirt you just unlocked, well, it'll reset you back to the first season. So when you start this mode, you're basically committed to what they call seasons, 4 of them, but they're only 3 games each, so 12 games. Once you win those 12 games, you finish the mode. There's not much to it. That's my main main negative, I guess. The main complaint is the single player mode isn't very good. I don't know why they set it up like this. So I'll play one game here. I'm going to play every mode. Now here you get 2 selections. Once you choose this is what you get for the whole World Championship. Full play and skip. So I said there's 4 players per team. If you play full play, you throw for every player. If you play skip, you only control the skip, which is basically the captain, the 4th player on the team. Usually they throw last. Some teams, their skip doesn't throw last, but for the most part, and in this game, the skip throws last. So this mode gives you even ends, 2, 4, 6, 8, or 10. Most competitions are 8 ends. Of course, I'm only going to play 2 now, because it would take an 8-end game will take you like 2 hours. Unless you're very, very fast at taking your turns. I'm going to do skip mode here. I'll play a full play in versus mode. So the odd thing here is that, I guess this is considered the World Championship for Season 1, because it's not a season. There's no season play, and there's not even a round robin. There's just this brief tournament, which is basically the playoff for an event. So I don't know. They should have just done, at the very least, it would have been better to do 1 World Championship, do a round robin, and then a playoff, and if that's the single player mode, so be it, but at least it would make more sense, and I think it would be more fun. So the other thing here is you see those 3 games just took place. In real curling, you can see in the background there's 4 sheets in the arena they have here. In real curling, all these games would be going on at the exact same time. They'd have the same start time. They'll end at different times, obviously. But if you go to the event live, you see all the games going on at the same time. Here, it's only one game at a time. You won't. The other sheets will all be blank once I start this. Yeah, there are tips. I didn't mention that when I was under that glossary section. The tips aren't real tips though. They're just repeating information from like glossary and terminology. I don't know why they call them tips. Now here they do a coin toss to determine who throws first and second. In real curling, I've never seen a coin toss. The teams each get a throw in the pregame, and whoever's closest to the button, which is that center of the target's called the house, that team gets to throw second, because you want to throw second. You want the hammer, which means you have the last throw. That's why there's a little picture of a hammer next to USA. Alright, I'm trying to cover a lot of stuff all at once. Now, right now I'm the skip. As you see me moving around here, I'm telling my teammates where to throw. You still control the skip in this part when it's your turn, which at that time, since you're the skip throwing, it would be the third player taking over at skip. What they're doing here is setting guards. And you can see under the big green thing up in the corner there, free guard zone rule in effect. So this game has that, and you can't disable it, so every game has that. And what that means is you can't knock the other team's guards out of play until that rule is disabled, which it is after the 5th throw. Now you can throw into the house, that's fine. You're free game, the other team can knock you out. You can hit their stones as long as you don't hit them into the wall here. Or into the house, I would guess. I actually don't usually touch them, but what happens if you violate the rule, the stones you hit go back to where they were, and then yours is removed. That's the end of your turn. The computer will likely go for the button on the next turn. Normally it's like if you throw first, it'll set outside guards, and the computer's really, really good at tapping their guards perfectly into the button. And I think that's why there's a coin toss. And it makes sense against the computer, because the computer is probably always going to land closer. It's always going to land right in the button, so that it would always win the hammer. Though they could do something different for 2-player, but you're stuck with that coin toss. Now, when you're directing your teammates, there are delivery instructions. For the guards, I was just leaving them where they were, but you can do takeouts, which is a straight hard throw, or a draw. And then you got different power settings, left or right, turn direction. Basically, it's curling. You're curling your throws, left or right. And then the turn strength. When you're throwing your own, there's actually 3 levels of turn, not just 2. Let me see how this will look. Now, it's not always perfect. Part of it, when you're throwing, you have to control power meter. I don't know if your computer teammates just aren't perfect, but sometimes they'll come up short, sometimes they'll go far. In reality, the ice is different each time you play. I don't think it changes at all in this game. I think it's just basically perfect. But in reality, players need to figure out the ice. Sometimes it's faster than you're used to. Sometimes one spot might curl more. That's not exactly what I wanted, but it'll have to do. That's kind of one thing I can't quite figure out, is why sometimes it's like that. I mean, if I select weak power, then yeah, it'll come up short like that. If I select strong, it'll go deeper. But I select average, I kind of expect it to go where I want, but it doesn't always. In real curling, players also all carry stopwatches. Their timing between the hog lines. This line up here is a hog line, and there's one on the other side. This line here is the T line. The center's the button. The red's the 4 foot. White's 8 foot. And blue is 12 foot. It's like if you watch a game with commentary, you hear them say those things. They also say shot rock, which would be this stone right here. That means if a team has shot rock, they have the stone closest to the center. Only one team scores per end. Ends, you can see it says end 1. They're like innings in baseball, so this is end 1. And when an end is completed, one team can score. Sometimes you'll get 0-0 though if there's no stones in the house. You have to have the closest stone to score, and if you have the second closest, then you get 2 points, and the third closest 3 points. So that's why it's ideal to throw last. You have a chance to stop the other team if they're dominating. You can squeeze one in there, get 1 point, keep them from scoring a few. Like right now, they'd have 2 points, and I'd have to get in there to keep that from happening. But yeah, I'm talking. I don't always play well. I was losing a bunch when I first started playing this. Then I got pretty good, and I was stealing points, and I've scored as many as 4 in an end. I've stolen as many as 3. I don't think I can squeeze one in there without hitting these guards, but I'm going to try anyway. That's why you set guards. Sometimes they get in your way, though, your own, but it's to make it harder. You can, to protect your throws, because then you'll want to throw somewhere behind a guard. This isn't perfect strategy. You gotta play the computer, basically. If the computer has outside guards, I stick my guards in front of theirs to keep them from tapping. They immediately go for the button, so you can't just let them sit there. And you can possibly throw a good takeout after a bit to clear theirs out. Of course, you can smash all these guards out of the way, too, at this point. Best course of action would probably be to try to squeeze one in there if I can do it. If you don't release before that hog line, it's a violation, but this game, the computer will auto-release if you don't press the button. Yeah, that didn't go where I wanted. Having a hard time here with the curling. So you can never not release. The computer will always release for you if you don't. So something to notice here is another very, very small nitpicking, but it's just not accurate to the way curling is. You'll see there's one sheet of ice on my left. There's 2 on my right. When we go to the second end, it's going to be the same way, but in reality, you switch to throwing the other direction, but this game doesn't do that, which makes sense because all the stones are now on this side of the sheet, so then the players then throw them back to the other house, and you swap back and forth through the game, but you're always throwing this direction, which doesn't matter because the ice doesn't change, but it would be more realistic if you were to flip and throw the other direction. I still feel like I need to get in there, but I can't get this throw. Another small thing to complain about. Not really complaining, but pointing out. You see that's the scoreboards at the end of the ice. They don't change. They're just static. Oh boy, that's not even close to what I wanted. It's gonna hit the guard, right? Yep. Yeah, that's the one thing I don't get. Sometimes like throws are just not as good as I've set them up to be. Because the sweeping is mostly, I thought, just sweeping to make it go faster. If you like mess up the power bar. So what's happening when players sweep in reality is they're heating up the ice. So they can kind of control the path and the speed, but here I thought you were really just controlling the speed. Yeah, this is a mess. I'm not doing well at all here. If I could get the thing to curl properly, if I could get that in there. I don't know, I'm having a hard time with this. I'm not stopping that properly. I was saying, I got sidetracked, that scoreboard doesn't change. It would be cool if, they put the score there. You don't need it because you're the player and you have the scoreboard up in the left, just like as if you were watching a television broadcast. Oh, look, I got it. It's only 1 point, but normally when you have the hammer, you want to score at least 2. So here we go, like I said, it's throwing in the same direction. You'll notice there's a chair next to the scoreboard. That's where the scorekeeper sits. A lot of venues have manual scoreboards for curling. Some have digital, but most are manual. So a scorekeeper will sit there and, after the completion of each end, they'll go put the number on whichever team scored. In some places, the players will do it themselves. This is an arena setting for the game. Most curling events are not in the arena settings. Only the real big events are, like a world championship, like this mode is, and they have the Grand Slam of curling. Those are big events with the top teams. But most take place at curling club locations. There's kind of venues without a lot of seating, so you don't get as many spectators at those events. But most do have 4 sheets of ice. Some don't. Some have less, some have more. So when you go to a draw, they call them draws. It's basically a time slot. You can see a lot of teams at one time. So you might buy like a $10 ticket and get to see 8 teams, 4 different games. See, this is my strategy of blocking their guards, trying to, so they can't tap them. The coaches usually sit behind the scoreboard too at a table. There aren't any coaches in this game, but in real curling, each team has a coach, of course, sometimes 2. And then they get 1 timeout per game. There aren't any timeouts here. There's no need to have them since there's no time limit either, but you get 1 timeout normally per match, and the coach comes out and talks to the team about what they should probably do next. You have to think ahead multiple turns. Games do have time limits, but it's not while they're playing. It's while they're talking. There's a counter until they're ready to throw. I'm going to try tapping my guard forward. It's a 38-minute time limit. A little hard. Games typically last 2 to 2.5 hours. So that 38 minutes is just talking time, basically. They can talk. At the end of each end, there's like a 2-minute rest, I guess. And then there's usually a halftime, like a mid-game break. Or sometimes players have snacks. But if the losing team is so far behind, they may choose to just stop play. It's sort of like a mercy rule. It's the losing team's decision if they want to stop. They don't have to. So some games may only go 6 ends instead of the scheduled 8. Which is why it's good that you are seeing multiple games in person if you pay to go, is that if a game ends really early, it might only be like 90 minutes. You might feel like you were cheated, but if you get to see 4 games at once, well, one could go 3 hours. They do have extra ends, just like extra innings in baseball. If the game is tie at the end of regulation. So this won't apply to everyone, but if you think baseball's slow, you probably won't be interested in curling, because you can tell there's turns here. It takes a little while. It's slow paced. There's no constant action in curling. I keep trying to tap these to land better than I'm getting. I'm gonna try again. Computer just leaves my center guard alone, so why not? Went a little angle, which is gonna make it harder to tap. I'm trying to cover a lot. I don't know if I'm remembering everything or if I can maybe repeat myself, but just trying to give the basics so you know what's going on. I didn't know much when I first watched. I had seen like a minute here and there, but I just didn't know much about curling until the 2022 Winter Olympics. Toward the end of the Olympics, I just happened to turn it on with just this background noise. I didn't have any intent to really watch, and yet I started watching, and then after the Olympics, I decided I was gonna follow curling. Pick out some favorite teams. You know what? I think I want to hit it harder than where I was placing that. Usually took me a whole season to really figure out how the seasons work, where to watch games. I didn't want to hit that front one, but oh well. There was a lot more to curling than I expected. I just thought players were throwing those objects. I didn't know that they were stones into the big target, which I thought was just to call the target, but there's more to it than that. I didn't realize only one team could score per end either. This game will teach you some things, but so will just watching games with commentary. I wanted to bump that one forward, but I'm so bad with hitting them in the right spot that I'm probably better off trying to hit into this one. Then how hard do you hit it is the other thing. I don't really want to do a takeout, because mine is in a good spot. This may be too hard. Not that I need to win. I already finished this mode. Ooh, that could be good. Am I sitting 1 or 2? I think just 1. Yeah. But I could steal a point here. The computer gets, excuse me, a little, I don't know, shy. When, like, look, they're gonna try to tap side into the center. But sometimes they don't really know, I think, where to go if there's no taps available. They don't do takeouts. I think they only do takeouts on the hardest setting. So I just stole a point. I won 2-0. I've only seen the computer do a takeout one time, and that was on the final match of this mode in the 4th season. So I won. That's basically all you ever see, is like the team standing there. If you win the event, it'll be a different background and say congratulations. It's the same thing all the way at the end to the 4th season. The only difference is the credits roll after the 4th season. So yeah, there's no big finale or anything. It's just the same thing repeating itself 4 times. Thing is, when you save and quit, I don't know if it saves necessarily this progress. Like, it'll save the season, or in, like, we're in season 2, it'll save that, but I was pretty sure I once saved after the 3rd game and it reset me to the start of that season. And we go to versus now. In versus, you can play up to 4 people. And you can all be on the same team if you want. It's only local. There's no online play. And you can play... I'm going to turn the computer up to the highest difficulty. You can play men against women, because there's no difference whatsoever between men and women in this game. It's... like I said, nobody has stats. There's like everyone's just equal. So I'm gonna do what's here. I'll just do full play, one end. You can go, you know, these count up in single digits, whereas the other mode was you have to go even number of ends. I'll just do one. I mean, the gameplay is the same, but I'll control all the players. So yeah, my main thing with the game is I wish there was a different single player mode or more content. I would love if they also had added mixed doubles. Why not add wheelchair curling as well? And wheelchair curling is a thing. They can't sweep, obviously, but why not include it? I mean, add some variety to this game. I'd really just like a better single player mode, and mixed doubles would be fun. Mixed doubles is different, even though they're not just because there's only 2 players per team, but they start with 2 stones in play. They don't throw as many stones. But really, a full season would be cool, or at least a round robin, like I said. But maybe some kind of season where you choose what events you're gonna play in. In reality, there's a lot of events in a curling season, but obviously one team is not going to go to every event because most are in different countries. A lot of them are in Canada, the majority. And if you're a team from Japan or the US or Sweden, you have to travel. So you gotta just select which events you're going to travel for, probably put a bunch in 1 month. But if you're one of the top 16 teams, you can play in the Grand Slam events. There's like 5 or 6 per season, and they're spread throughout the season. I think I threw that too hard. I wasn't really paying attention. Season, like those events take place between September and April. Events do start in August. The season runs, you know, 9 or 10 months. Not every team starts playing in August. Some may wait until September. But some teams only play in a handful of events, you know. Part because there aren't a lot near them, or they just don't play as often. I mean, these aren't their full-time jobs. A lot of curling players have actual jobs. The U.S. hosts some events, but the country's so big, you know, you probably don't live near any, but you might. The U.S. Curling federation's in Minnesota, which is where a lot of teams come from. I don't know if I may repeat myself, but like the U.S. Championship this year is in New Jersey. There was a mixed doubles event. It might actually be going on now in Wisconsin. There was one in Cincinnati last year. So they're around, but there aren't a lot of them. And if you live close to one, I'd suggest going just to see what it's like. Tickets usually don't cost too much. Thing is, you have to be an actual fan that wants to see it if you're going to spend the money to travel for it, which I have done twice. I don't know. I'm going to get by. Yep. And I live near Canada, so I drove 4 hours to attend an event, and then I drove a little over 4 hours the next year to attend another event. But I don't go over the full event because it's another unique thing about curling is they're generally they're multi-day events. The Grand Slam events, which is what I went to, those are 6 days. I can't go for the full 6 days. It'd be cool if I lived near an event like that. I'd go to all the draws, or at least go to one a day. Though they do take place during the weekdays, usually Tuesday to Sunday, so people work, so the crowds aren't too big until the weekend. They get a lot more on the weekends or at night. Because there's 4 draws in a day. They start at like 8 a.m. 11 a.m. I don't know, 2 p.m. or a night game, something like that. I just wanted to see what it was like, and then I liked it enough to go back a second time. It helped it the second time. See, the computer just did a takeout. They only do it on the hardest difficulty. But the second time was actually in a location that was more interesting too. Kind of combine it as a sightseeing vacation, It was at Niagara Falls. First time was just kind of a suburb of Toronto that one was at. They're not always in the same location, that's the thing. Like the Grand Slam events, there's some that stay in the same location. Like there's always one in Toronto in April, I believe. But the other ones all move around. I guess to give fans in different locations a chance to attend one. Other events, they're set in the same location if they're a specific event. Like there's always a men's event in Arizona. Yes, in the desert, in Tempe. Because it's a winter sport, but it's also indoors, so you can play it anywhere as long as you have a building that has curling. I'm not exactly playing perfect. I say it every video pretty much when I talk. I don't really even pay attention to what I'm doing. I just play. It's alright. I'm never trying to really win. I'm just showing you the game here. And it plays fine. I think I said it's a casual tape. I would say they didn't go for super realistic graphics or anything. Not quite. Didn't quite push it out enough. Thing is this is well, you could probably get the physical edition on sale. I don't know if the digital one has ever gone on sale. I was tracking it for a while. The original price is $39.99. The digital version, I don't know, did I mention it came out in 2022? Physical version a year later, or a few months later, at least in 2023. The physical version only released in Japan and North America. In North America, primarily because of Canada. I don't think it's popular enough in the US to generate many sales. They did put the Canadian flag on the players on the box cover. And box cover though, it's blank. They didn't put the country flags on the players on the front cover. Oh wow, look at that. That's a good one. So, $40 game, I don't know, for single player I don't think so. I don't think there's enough here. Like I said, add more, add mixed doubles, add wheelchair, add a better single player mode. Add some stat tracking for the player at least, if not for the individual athletes, but I think the player would make more sense. Since the characters are all basically the same. Right, I won that. There's no stat tracking whatsoever through that single player mode. I don't know if the company would make a sequel. I don't know. I think probably just depends how well this does. But you could do so much more. More mini games wouldn't hurt either. Okay, mission curling. So this is just 3 difficulty levels and then completing these objectives in a certain number of throws to get a gold or silver trophy. You can see the objective, move the red guard stone into the area that's marked there. At the very beginning they're very simple of placing the stone in a specific place. I'll just do one, I guess. I think you get the idea. It's the same as the game. You're throwing something, you just have to do a specific objective. So, if you do want to play a curling video game, this is kinda it. There's an old computer game, but other than that, wait, what did that say? Yeah, basically if I just slam this out of here, I'm going to be number 1. You can see here though that you're no longer in the arena. This is more like a curling club. It's kind of a very rectangular building without much more to it. So I know of 5 other curling games, I think. Or maybe only 4. I don't know, there could be more. I don't know about all of them, probably. Okay, I'm going to go to Penguin Pool next. Here, you can play a 4-stone or 8-stone game. There's 3 stages. You're hitting the penguin stones into the water. They each have different point values. The water, which is those striped areas, and the solid blue are barriers. The goal is really to build multipliers. So, the first time I ever heard of curling was actually because of a computer game. I work on a game database. I had to add takeout weight curling in 2002, and then its sequel the next year. Those are made by a Canadian teenager 20 years ago, so though I think you can still acquire them, obviously they're going to look ugly because it's a 20-year-old computer game made by one person. And here I'm going to try to just put that in there. Well, that won't do any good because if there's 5 on the ice, your stone won't stay there. Ideally, I guess you'd want to hit 1 in maybe and leave yours. If yours goes in the water, you lose 10 points. Now, if there's less than 5 on the ice, your stone will stay behind and become a piece on the next play. Let me just push this one up here somewhere. So yeah, an old computer game, sometimes they're hard to get to run on newer computers. So there are those, and then there's a DSiWare game, but the DSiWare store is shut down, so you can't buy Curling Super Championship, or I think that's what it's called, I think, Super Curling, or Curling Super Championship. But that store is gone, so you can't buy that game anymore. You would have needed a DS. Or DSi, I don't, I can't remember all those handhelds. But that was by Cypronia. And there's another eShop game, a $6 game called Curling by PixArts, which is another small company. This is the only game developed by like a full experienced studio. Let me just try to smash this one now. See what happens. So this is really your primary option if you want to play a curling video game. You have to have a Nintendo Switch because it's only on Switch. Not really what I wanted. Alright, so you can also, as far as video games, you can also, okay, put 3 in there. You can find curling events within other games, usually Winter Olympic style games like Winter Sports 2023 and the Sonic and Mario, or Mario and Sonic Winter Olympic style games. But as far as full-time curling games, this is really the only option for, I mean, maybe that eShop game's okay, but I don't know. They do so hot, except for that one turn. In that mode, all you do is unlock those penguin curling stones if you hit certain point values. Alright, I'm gonna play the last event. I'm gonna have to split the Joy-Con. You only need a half, like, I guess they're considered one Joy-Con per player in any mode. Alright, so the last thing, I'll play this mode as I talk. This is just tic-tac-toe. But you can hit you can place your stones, but the other player can push them out, so it's not exactly like tic-tac-toe on paper. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, real curling, is how to watch it. And that's the biggest drawback, is, at least in the US, it's not on TV. I think it sometimes was in the past, but it's not now, as far as I know. The Grand Slam events I've talked about, and the World Curling Federation events, which is the World Championships, and some other events, and those are pay only in the US. That's the problem, is I miss out on a lot because I don't want to pay, but that's how it is. So it's the biggest drawback with curling. In addition to that, not every event is broadcast. They don't have cameras inside all these curling clubs, and you really don't know ahead of time. Like, I was looking forward to an event recently, and just to find that it wasn't broadcast at all, so I couldn't watch it. And then even when an event is broadcast, they may only broadcast 1 or 2 draws per day. They might have all of them. They might just have 1 per day. You don't know what you're gonna get. So it's good to either not mind, I guess, which teams you want to watch, or have a handful of teams you like, and then so hopefully you'll have something to watch. See, when you land on the line, you get 2 spaces, or in that case, get 4. But yeah, things are hit and miss. I watched an event in Japan recently where they only had 2 sheets of ice in the building, and one of the 2 had commentary and a full broadcast each day or each draw, and then the other one had some kind of weird fixed camera angle. Some of them have just, they'll stick a camera up and a microphone and that's what you get, so there's no commentary. And if you're not familiar with curling, you might not really understand what's going on, so it's good to select the commentary games. Curling Zone's YouTube channel recently started separating that so you can find the ones with commentary easily. And Curling Zone is where you want to start if you're curious about curling. As a spectator, this website, although kind of out of date and not easy to navigate, I don't think, takes some getting used to. That's really the spot to go. It lists all the events for the season. Events do get canceled though if not enough teams sign up. You don't always know the teams too far in advance. Although if you have a favorite team, they might have a calendar so you'll know which events they're in. I'm just gonna throw one on through. I'll leave some links in the video description to Curling Zone. Of course, if you're watching this, you have access to YouTube, so you have access to watch curling. There's a lot of games on there. If you don't mind watching pre-recorded games, there's a lot right now to go look up. But we're in the middle of the season, so there's events every weekend, or during the week as well, that carry through the weekend. Forget which controller I need here. The World Curling events use a streaming service where you buy credits, and then each game can cost a different number of credits depending on basically if they have commentary or not. The Grand Slam events is a payment for 4 of the 6 days of the event. So you don't get the whole event. They don't broadcast the first 2 days or the morning draws on the last 2 days. So if you have a favorite team in the event, it's possible you'd only get 1 game if they don't make the playoff. That's why the whole TV situation is really the point, kind of the sticking point. Is just there's not a lot on, but I mean it's kind of similar in some ways in other sports, like Major League Baseball. Other than a handful of games might be on Fox. That's not on TV either. It's a much larger sport, of course. But I'd kind of have to pay if I wanted to see my favorite team, because I live near Detroit. All their games are on cable television, I believe. I haven't had cable TV in a long time, more than 12 years. So other sports you gotta pay as well, I guess. It's just, it feels like curling doesn't have a big enough following to go to the pay model right away. But I guess they probably can't get a lot of advertising either, perhaps. I don't know. I'm such a new fan that I don't know what the history is on all that. I have noticed, though, in looking up the past, that NBC used to have a curling night in America like it does with Sunday Night Football, but I guess that's long gone. I'd watch that now, of course, but I didn't know about it back then because I didn't follow the sport. Guess ideally I'd want to try to stop in there. There's a lot of stuff I'm trying to cover. I don't know if I got everything I wanted to say, but this game's okay. I wouldn't spend 40 on it. For if you're only playing solo, it's probably more like a $10 game, just because that championship mode's not gonna last you too long. There's no stat tracking. I don't know. I like stats, but maybe not everyone cares about that stuff. But if you have people to play with, you'll get more out of this game with these little mini games and the versus mode. So that is it. I think I showed you the whole game so you can see what's in it. Whether you think you'd like that or not, it's up to you. But like I said, it could have been so much more, and I hope that the Cattle Call actually does go for a sequel with a lot more content and more in-depth play. But that is it. So thanks for watching.